Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is Alan. When I was growing up, video games were generally seen as a very negative thing. It was a waste of time, it was addictive, it made people do stupid and even violent things. Video games, like any new cultural phenomenon, was misunderstood quite a lot in those early years by individuals who weren't really familiar with them, who at the same time were being hyperbolic and fearful of it without truly understanding its actual effects on people. Today there's a lot more research about video games and their effect on people from all sorts of demographics. Like in any activity, we've found that video games have benefits and they also have negatives. Plus, each game has its own set of rules and structure that also interacts differently with its players, so each game also has its own positives and negatives. Some games are designed to be addicting and keep your eyes glued to the screen. They depend on a reward system not all that different from what social media companies use to get us addicted. Other games test your reflexes and can actually give you a decent workout. There's definitely some games that I play in VR that definitely get my blood pumping. Then there are simulation games that perhaps teach us skills like management or logistics, maybe how to build infrastructure, and some games teach us even more specific skills like how to fly a plane. So yeah, if you play your cards right and you don't overindulge too much, you could develop a pretty healthy relationship with video games and actually benefit from that relationship. And you don't really need experts in the media or scientists to tell you that. But there is one type of game that I always enjoy playing above all else, and that is the engaging RPG. The player must put themselves in the shoes of a character who then is put through a series of trials and missions. Many of these games require the player to make impactful decisions about their character and the world around them. We actually see a similar type of role-playing being used in counseling sessions by people trying to overcome some kind of phobia or addiction or some other kind of hardship. The RPG genre is a simulation of everyday situations, albeit usually set in a fantastic world and environment, which actually just removes the player enough from reality to allow them to be honest with their true internal desires and thoughts. And so this game genre actually becomes a great way at extracting information about people's personality and behavior without them even really realizing it. In the Ender's Game series, all the children in Battle School are given the option to play a game on their tablet, which ultimately is run by a powerful AI that is monitoring the behaviors and development of all of these future military leaders. This AI is basically the game master and constantly is changing and tweaking the game to figure out which each individual is like from a psychological standpoint. Now, I'm not saying we should be afraid of the government monitoring our next playthrough of The Witcher to extract information about our personality, but it is pretty interesting to look at our own play behavior and what that says about our personality. And so today, I want to break down what RPG character class you choose in games says about who you are as a person. This is a completely unscientific thought exercise that is just based on my own anecdotal evidence and conjecture, so feel free to input what you think in the comments below and don't take this too seriously. The warrior is the individual who fights on the front lines. They specialize in close quarter combat. Generally, they have access to some of the best armor and shields the game has, along with some of the most powerful melee weapons as well. This is one of the more simplistic classes to play with, as most of your skills and attributes will be focused on strength, constitution, willpower, and so on. These are also the same type of traits that players of this class will probably hold in high value in real life. Whether they have attained these values is a whole other issue. These are also individuals who might want a more straightforward game. Some might even have a distaste or fear of magic and other complicated skills. The warrior likes direct action and doesn't want to be left out of the action. They want to be in the center of attention at all times, even if that means dragging all the enemy's attention towards them as well. They just need to have respect for who's in charge. A warrior can be a good leader for a group, but also a good follower and protector as well. The warrior also might be an individual who's into collecting gear and equipment, as wearing the heaviest armor and finding the best weapon is quite important for this cast. The warrior is also an individual who might be susceptible to tunnel vision, which can create some issues, but at the same time, it's this internal focus and determination that makes them so good at their job. Now, there are a few subclasses within the warrior class itself. First, we have the tank. This is an individual who most likely equip a shield in their offhand and a weaker one-handed weapon in their other hand. These type of warriors don't care as much about doing the most damage. Instead, they're willing to make a sacrifice for the team by absorbing the enemy's damage instead. It actually takes a certain amount of empathy and also patience to become a tank. These are probably individuals who hold protectors in our society with high regard. They themselves might be protectors or aspire to be one as well. Now, the tank is a very aggressive and physical individual in real life as well, but they might be trying to channel all that aggression and strength into something that's a little less destructive. The barbarian, on the other hand, rushes into battle with larger two-handed weapons. They do massive amounts of damage, but generally wear less armor and don't have a shield. This is someone who wants to be powerful and sees physical power as an important attribute. These are somewhat hot-headed individuals with an appetite for destruction and want to enjoy the thrill of rushing headfirst into problems and challenges. It's Leroy Jenkins! Whether they have the courage to do that in real life is undetermined. Patience is probably going to be a less important stat for the barbarian, as boredom quickly sets in when there aren't any heads to smash in anymore. I personally used to play the warrior class a lot when I was younger. This is when I also played a lot of aggressive team sports and had a more testosterone-fueled worldview, but as I've gotten older and more chilled out, the warrior class does not excite me nearly as much. I've realized that there's more to life than just bashing your enemies' faces in, and there's not as much virtue to unnecessary suffering as your football coach / drill instructor might want you to believe there is. The rogue is the antithesis of the warrior from a physical standpoint. While the warrior is big and strong and focused on strength, the rogue is smaller and more lean in stature and focused on agility and speed. Rogues don't wear much armor at all, and whatever armor they do wear is designed to have maximum protection for the smallest amount of weight. Efficiency of movement and maneuverability is extremely important. This class, more than any other class, seeks to dodge and counter enemy attacks instead of absorbing them. Rogues are more likely to see honor and tradition on a battlefield as something stupid and archaic. There are no rules for them to follow on the battlefield. The key is winning and doing as much damage as possible before their enemy can react. A rogue does not want to be at the center of attention. They like hiding in the shadows, learning and observing other individuals before making their move. These are also individuals who might dislike disclosing too much information about themselves because it could potentially reveal some weaknesses which they of course will jealously guard. Rogues are specially equipped to adventure by themselves, either because they enjoy solitude or solitude is forced upon them. They might enjoy the company of a group from time to time, but they are more than capable to seek out adventure on their own. The assassin is the rogue subclass that primarily deals with enemies up close while their backs are turned. Given the fact that they have very little armor and generally small daggers and knives, this is a high risk and high reward profession. Assassins need to supplement their weaknesses with stealth attacks and tricks that immobilize or poison their enemies. The assassin is rarely ever comfortable because even the smallest mistakes can result in death. But there is always plenty of thrill and adrenaline in planning your avenue of attack and executing that perfect kill. The Ranger is the more cautious rogue subclass. They generally use long-range weapons like bows and firearms and supplement that with traps. They might be a bit more tactically minded and understand that there is no reason to take incoming damage from crazies wielding swords and clubs. Their set of skills allows them to slow down the enemy and continuously create distance in between themselves and their foe. Some individuals in the Ranger class also have pets that can help tank and replace other human players. This type of Ranger can be the ultimate learner and might enjoy experiencing and exploring things at their own pace. I generally never play the Assassin class. It's way too stressful. I'm more of a Ranger myself. That's generally my go-to class nowadays. I do like wandering around in these worlds all by myself and just kind of taking in the sights as I please. Now, those who become magic users are most likely bored or uninterested in the more physical pursuits of their peers. Firing bows and smashing in heads is fun when you're 5 years old. Now it's all about learning new complicated subsystems like how magic and mana works. The magician believes that intelligence and some wisdom are the most important traits one can have. These are generally people who are curious and open-minded and willing to put in the work and actually research what it takes to be the best at their profession. Magic users don't pursue items of physical strength like armor and swords. Instead, they look for artifacts and equipment that can give them an advantage in their pursuit of more skills and knowledge. These actually might be more seasoned gamers or more mature individuals who are looking for a little more than just some simplistic game mechanics. A subclass of Magic users is the Mage or Wizard. These individuals drop nukes on the battlefield and are amongst the most powerful individuals on a team. A competent wizard can carry an entire team and manage the battlefield in a way a quarterback does from behind a wall of protection. Wizards wield the ultimate power, and therefore they're probably used to carrying other weaker individuals on their team, or they also might be the kind of individual who gets very impatient when there's an incompetent member of the team. Those who seek the class of Wizard also seek importance and power in life. They are not afraid of exposure and the expectations that this class brings along with it. Self-confidence combined with perhaps a little lower empathy is not unusual for people who play this class. The other type of magical user is the healer class. This is a special type of individual who has learned to find happiness by helping the people around them. They believe in the group because without the group they are nothing, and at the same time everyone in the group kind of depends on them. It's for this reason why most healers take their role very seriously. And it's not that healers don't seek the same type of glory that warriors and mages do, it's just that they have developed their own parallel reward structure based on helping other individuals. It actually takes a very mature and empathetic individual to develop this type of mentality. But then again, some healers are just martyrs who want attention and can be extremely annoying as well. Healers are generally quiet individuals when it comes to the group dynamic. They only voice their concerns when things get rough or they feel like they're morally obligated to say something. While the healer might not be winning any major tournaments anytime soon, it doesn't mean that their job is easy. It requires a high level of competence to become a good healer. They have to constantly judge and weigh the risks that each member of their team is facing and allocate their limited resources to keep everyone healthy and alive. A healer might also have to make tough decisions and allow weaker members to perish in order to keep a more important character alive. And so while everyone on the team is focused on the mission, the healer is focused on you. I generally never play the magic role, and it's because I don't trust magic or wizards or Jedi or anything like that. I'm a simple person who enjoys the physical contact of a blunt instrument or an arrow bashing through someone's skull. So there you have it, guys. Those are some of the major classes we see in RPGs. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about our analysis and which one of these classes best represents your personality. I'm sure most of us are going to be a hybrid of a few different class types and subclasses. Well, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below. And as usual, thanks for joining us today. My name is Alan, reminding you that life is a movie and you are the protagonist.